everyone, and welcome to with Hala 5th 25. I am so glad to have you here with me this week. I hope you all enjoyed last week's story with Hala when I told you about the truffle tree, the Lorax quote, and I hope you all kept it in your hearts and thought about it a very good think this week. So, this week we're going to be, before we start, I just want to say that Black History Month is coming up. So I'm going to be starting from now on, talking more about Black history and including that with us. And I am thinking of adding a new segment where we sit together and learn a new fact about Black history every day. All right, without further ado, let's start. I hope you all enjoyed last week's story with Hala, and I hope you'll enjoy this week. Before we start, today's quote of the week is, "Those who deny freedom from others deserve it not for themselves." Abraham Lincoln. I feel like this quote really talks about the fact that those who are racist to other people don't deserve freedom themselves. They don't deserve the freedom. They don't deserve the privilege that they get. So it's important to know that we are all the same, no matter the race, no matter the country, no matter the skin color. It really doesn't matter. We're all humans. We're all the same. So let us start with this week's book. So the book that I have chosen this week is Harriet Tubman. It is a short picture book about Harriet Tubman. So I'm going to be reading it today. Harriet Tubman was a very, very brave woman. And it's just, it's a very, very interesting and inspiring story. I will read the story to you now. Before She Was Harriet by Lessa Klin Ransom. Illustrated by James E. Ransom. Here she sits, an old woman, tired and worn, her legs stiff, her back achy. But before, wrinkles formed on her eyes, and her eyes failed before she reached her twilight years. She could walk for miles and see clearly under a sky lit only with stars. Before she was an old woman, she was a suffragist, a voice for women who had none in marriages, in courts, in voting booths. Before her voice became soft and raspy, it was loud and angry, rising above injustice. Before she was a suffragist, she was General Tubman, rising out of the fog, armed with courage, strong in the face of rebels and planters and overseers as they watched fields burn and bridges fall and 700 slaves stop chopping and start running, to a woman who ferried them to freedom on the Combahee River turned River Jordan. Before she was General Tubman, she was a Union spy carrying secrets across battlefields to soldiers fighting in the Civil War for President Lincoln to end slavery. Before she was a Union spy, she was a nurse caring for those hit with bullets and hatred and fear, tending to them with bandages and words in the blooded dirt of Southern soil. Before she was a nurse, she was Aunt Harriet, daughter of Ben and Rit, who helped her parents flee their master and find their way through woods and streams to the safety of Canada and a new home in the north. Before she was Aunt Harriet, she was Moses, a conductor on an underground railroad with no trains and no tracks, just passengers traveling to freedom up north through swamps, past slave catchers, across rivers, under the cover of night. Seeking the promised land for her people, led by dreams and God and faith, and a wisp of a woman with courage of a lion. Before she was Moses, she was Minty of Maryland, of one slave owner, and then others who worked her punished her with lashes, broke her back but not her spirit. Before she was Minty, she was Araminta, a young girl taught by her father to read the woods and the stars at night, readying for the day. She'd leave behind slavery along with her name and pick a new one, Harriet. And remember her days as a suffragist, as a general, as a spy, as a nurse, as Aunt Harriet, as Moses, and as a conductor, as Minty, as Araminta, who dreamed of living long enough to one day be old, stiff and achy, tired and warm and wrinkled and free. To the guiding force of all the women who have led the way through courage, strength, perseverance, and intellect, Harriet Tubman, Surger, Truth, Lau, Hammer, Toni Morrison, Michelle Obama, Viola Davis, Anne Speed, Aristine Klein. To Black women who have carried the weight of family and work with the grace and dignity, GR. That is the end of this book. I hope you all enjoyed it. Think about this book. Harriet Tubman has a very, very, very interesting story. A really very interesting story. And I hope you all enjoyed this book. Now, we are going to be talking a bit more about the Underground Railroad. Now, the Underground Railroad wasn't actually a railroad. You'd think it was like some kind of train, secret train that no one talked about. You're close. It wasn't actually a train or railroad with any tracks or anything. The Underground Railroad was a secret, super secret organization for runaway slaves. And there was Underground Railroad hideouts for each slave, and there would be Quakers there. If you don't know what a Quaker is, in the olden days, Quakers were people who didn't believe in slavery and would help slaves run away, with the Underground Railroad. And Harriet Tubman was a very famous conductor, slave conductor in the Underground Railroad. So this is all very important. I really, I recommend and that you research more about the Underground Railroad, and it's important to learn about Black history. Very important to learn about Black history, which is why I'm going to be coming with you each week for a new fact and a new subject about Black history, so that your children or you can learn more about Black history with me. So let us start with the craft that I picked for this week. This week's craft is gonna, kind of open for another subject. It is a craft that we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be making our very own freedom quilt. If you don't know what a freedom quilt is, freedom quilts were quilts that slaves made in the olden days, and they would make the freedom quilts and hang them up somewhere, and they would have special signs on them. And if you're a runaway slave, obviously you would know much about all these different signals and stuff, about the patterns on the quilts. I'm going to be talking about a few of them right now. Let me just share my screen. I have a photo of all of them and their definitions. All right, let us share our screen. All right. So here are the very few patterns. Obviously, you can do as many as you want. Really, there's unlimited choices, but these are the ones with meanings that they used to use a long time ago. Let's start with monkey wrench. Get ready. Gather your tools you'll need to build shelters, navigate the journey, or defend yourselves along the way. That is the definition and the meaning of this symbol. Crossroads. Keep going and travel in the crossroads in Cleveland, Ohio, named Hope. This vibrant Underground Railroad station was the last stop where slaves would board a boat to Canada. Log cabin. You've reached a safe house. Congratulations. You have found new friends who are friends of slaves. Now, log cabin, they would mostly put this up where houses are, and that would mean that, as you can see, you've reached a safe house, a house of a Quaker. Another one was if they would light a candle on a window of a second-story house, that would mean that the people in that house were friendly and that they were Quakers. So if you didn't have the material, if you didn't have access to the material for the freedom quilts, you could light a candle in the second story of your house, and it would mean that this is a safe house of Quakers. Bow ties. You're looking pretty tattered. To disguise yourself as a freed slave, you'll need a change of clothes. The bow-tied quilt block is a code to tell you someone will bring you nicer clothing. Flying geese. Follow the migrating geese north to Canada and freedom. Drunkard's path. Go back one space. This quilt block is a sign that slave hunters are near. Double back to elude them immediately. North Star. Look at the skies to help you navigate the way. Follow the North Star to Canada. Now, this is kind of a little hint to our next book that I'm going to be reading, and it's Follow the Drinking Gourd. So I'm sure all of you know the Big Dipper. It's a big, it kind of looks like a big spoon there, and the front of the Big Dipper is called the Drinking Gourd. And the book about Follow the Drinking Gourd, it's an old saying that people say follow the drinking gourd, and the drinking gourd would get you to the North Star. So then you'd follow the drinking gourd, yeah, to freedom. Now a gourd was a hard-shelled fruit or vegetable. It was similar to a squash, except had a very, very hard shell. So it would say follow the drinking gourd or the North Star, and that is the sneak peek about the next book I'm going to be reading next week. Next, tumbling blocks. The time has come to box up your belongings. Your escape will be happening soon. Those are all the definitions to all the patterns, and of course you can pick any one of these. If you're watching this live, you can go to our Facebook account, Canar TV, Canar TV Live, and you will find all the videos of my stories, and you can pause that and look up which pattern you want. And I will soon be making my very own Instagram account and YouTube, a Facebook account and YouTube and Instagram. So my very own social media where I will post all my videos and sneak peeks and behind the scenes. So let us start with our freedom quilts. So you could do the ones with the patterns, or you can make up your very own pattern with your very own definition and name it. This is an activity that I did with my class. We did not read this specific book, but we did read a book about freedom quilts, and we did the freedom quilts, and I thought it was just an amazing activity, so I had to share it with you guys. What you'll need for this craft is some glue. I recommend liquid because it will stick better, and sometimes using a glue stick is hard, but if you don't have access to liquid glue, you could just use glue sticks. It really doesn't matter. Next, you'll need some scissors to cut the paper because we're going to be making our very own paper quilts. Don't worry, this is not very advanced. We're going to have to use fabrics and everything. Next, what you're going to need is some construction paper. Right here, you can pick a bunch of colors on your very own, or you can just go black and white, you know. I have prepared in advance a bunch of shapes for the for my pattern. So I have them in here, and there's a bunch of shapes of construction paper. So with this, you're going to need some shapes. As you can see, where the freedom quilts, you can notice there's mostly triangles and squares, except for the drunkard's path, where there is a slave, there's slave catchers, slave hunters near. So you're basically, if you want to, you know, kind of spice it up a little bit and choose your own shapes, or kind of go crazy and pick whatever, kind of just, you know, maybe go in with markers and do that with different shapes and patterns and squiggly lines. You do you. Or you could go with triangles, squares, and rectangles, which is what I have over here. So let us start. We're going to need another material is just a blank piece of paper. You could also use black paper, but I would recommend white paper because it makes a much cleaner surface. And using construction paper on construction paper, I would recommend otherwise using printer paper for this specific craft. So what you're going to need now is to cut a square out of this, because if you look back at the patterns, they were all square, they were not rectangle. So we're just going to see what we're going to do. Let's see, I'm just going to mark it right here with a highlighter. Okay, so you're going to need, you can't really see, but about this much cut off. Enough to make your square. Depends on how big your paper is, but usually printer paper is around this size. So you're going to need to do as, you know, however it suits you, you know, just to make sure it's a square. Let's cut that. Okay, And next, here comes the fun part. Now we are going to decorate our freedom quilts with a bunch of different patterns. Okay, so I think my personal favorite was the North Star. If you don't, I'm just going to share my screen one more time just to make sure that you can see the freedom quilts. The North Star is right here. This one right here, it's a very simple. I think the drunkard's path and the tumbling blocks would take you much longer time, but you could really choose whatever you want. It does not matter. All right, so I'm going to be doing the North Star, so let's get started with that. As you saw, the North Star has a little blue block in the middle of it, and kind of like the triangles on the side of it. So while we do this, I just want to talk about how important it is to think about the Black Lives Matter movement. You could do so many changes, like maybe go to protests. I know now because of lockdown you cannot, but in further notice, when we are allowed to, you can. Maybe you can post on social media. Maybe you can post on social media Black Lives Matter posts to inspire other people. Maybe inspire your family members or your friends to research more about Black history, because that is a very important thing that we need to do. Black Lives Matter is a serious movement. It's not just for fun, it's Black people are being constantly killed these days. Like, so many people, mostly in the States, are being killed just because of their race, and that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So especially you kids, you're the future of our generation. We're the future of our generation. We need to make sure that we spread our word. We need to make sure that we open our minds and research about Black history so we can make a better generation and a better future for this world. Like I said, Black people are constantly getting killed because of their race, and that's ridiculous. We need to learn better about this. We need to research and do everything that we can to ensure that that we all are well educated about this. So if you're a parent watching this video or you're with your kids, maybe pause the video, or when you finish it, go and take the time to research a bit about Black history. And I'm going to be going with you every week on Wednesday, 5 o'clock, and I'm going to be talking to you about Black history, and each day we're going to be talking about a brand new person. Another thing is that I think one of you is going to wonder what, or a few of you is going to wonder what website I used. I used Epic. It is a very good reading website for kids, and the nice thing about it is that during school hours from 8 to 4 o'clock, from 8 a.m. to 4 o'clock to 4 p.m., you can read all books free. But after that, you need to get a paid subscription. But I would highly recommend it because there's so many books on there, like so many famous authors post their books on there, so it's very good. This is not sponsored, but I would strongly recommend the getting the subscription or reading in school hours with your child. So also maybe talk to your teacher if they already don't know about Epic. I'm sure they do because most schools in Canada use this website a lot. The teacher could make a class account for everyone in class, and you could put the class's name. You could make a class code, the code of the class, and then your students can join on they could put in the class code and find their names, and then have their accounts all set up just like that. And so again, in school hours, it's free. After school, it requires a paid subscription. But I would recommend this because I've been reading a lot of books during school hours lately, and it's a very good website to do. So this is how fast I've gotten so far. This is not very much, but it's because I'm on live right now, and I can't take my time quickly right now. But if you're at home and with your family, this is also a very nice activity to do. I know you probably noticed that in most of my, if you've been following along with this series, you would know that I always talk about spending time with your family, always craft, doing it with your family, reading books with your family. And that is because it's very important to spread family happiness. This could be very easing to your mental health. Maybe sit down and read some books, maybe do the crafts that I recommend each week with your family. Maybe Wednesday could be your family day, and you could look at the crafts that I showed you, and each Wednesday you could do crafts with your kids. This can be, again, very easing to mental health and very healing, because in the times of COVID right now, we need to make sure that our mental health is fine. We need to make sure that we are all, we need to check in on each other and ourselves. So this can be a very calming and good activity to do with your family. And trust me, it'll spread family fun. I always love it when me and my family are all together, playing board games together and having fun, and just maybe playing charades. Also, Twister is a very fun family game. It can get awkward at times. There's this one time where I was like a warped version of Spider-Man. I was in this very weird position. But that is Twister can be also very fun and funny. So I have finished my pattern. It might need some time to dry out, and of course you can take your time with this. Since I'm on live, I need to finish this quickly. But take your time with this. It's a very fun and calming craft. So that is the end of our story with Hala 25. I hope you all enjoyed this story as much as I did. I hope you enjoyed the book. And another reminder to please do your research about Black history. It's very important to sit with your family, take the time to do some researching about Black history. So that is the end of our story with Hala. I hope you all enjoyed it. Be sure to follow CanArTVLive TV Live on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to them on YouTube. And be sure to like this video and tune in for some more Story with Halas every week. Wednesday, 5 o'clock. Thank you so much. I enjoyed being with you here today. I'll see you in the next episode of Story with Hala.